The war in Israel and Gaza is thousands of miles away, yet it is having a tremendous impact here in the U.S. with anti-Semitism on the rise, especially, of all places, on college campuses. Dueling protests and violent threats are raising tensions and fears among students. Here's my colleague Stephanie Goss with more.
At Tulane University's campus in New Orleans, Jewish students organized a unity rally. The scene, a far cry from what took place last week. Just off campus, a clash between pro-Israel students and a pro-Palestinian group.
It was terrifying.
Second-year law student Ryan Zamos is Jewish. He shot the video.
An Israeli flag was being burned, and a brave Tulane student attempted to grab the flag before a fight broke out.
A Tulane student was injured in the brawl. 3 others who don't attend the university were arrested.
The violence that occurred outside our campus was horrific, and we condemned it.
Tulane President Michael Fitz says people came to campus to incite violence.
Is it possible to have a fair-minded debate on this war that doesn't descend into hate speech and threats or violence?
The promise of a university is exactly that, to engage in those conversations. That's what we're about, mutual respect.
And tonight we wanted to hear from the young people experiencing this anti-Semitism firsthand. I want to bring in 3 Jewish college students. Yola Ashkenazi, she's a senior at Barnard College. Bella Ingber is a junior at New York University, and Amanda Silberstein, a sophomore at Cornell. She studied in Israel for a year after high school. Ladies, thank you all for being here. I just want to start, and I turn to you first, Bella. How are you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us and giving us the opportunity to share our story. I'm heartbroken. I'm scared, and I'm shocked at the rise in anti-Semitism that we've seen following Hamas's brutal attack on innocent Israeli civilians on October 7th. I'm shocked by the university's lack of enforcement of its school policies regarding anti-Semitism. Jewish students are scared. There are consistent protests and rallies in Washington Square Park that are under the guise of pro-Palestinian, and yet a lot of the chants are consistently calling for a globalized intifada, which has historical significance, being violence towards Jews, calling for bloodshed of Jews and the extermination of Jews. I've been hearing calls for gas the Jews, Hitler was right, and I'm the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. Hearing these words be thrown around in such a careless way is harmful. It's devastating, and I'm the biggest proponent of free speech. I think it's important. I think that it's an amazing value that the university has been enforcing for a very long time. It's amazing. The country, it's the United States of America. Free speech is one of our most valued rights. But what's scaring me is the line between free and hate speech is becoming extremely blurred. These are calls for violence towards Jews. These are not calls for peace. These are not calls for Palestinian rights. These are calls for the blood of Jews to be shed. And that is what is scaring me the most. And historically, it doesn't take much to spark anti-Semitism. It doesn't. We know that from the Holocaust. This is how it started, with propaganda, with anti-Semitic rhetoric, and it needs to be stopped.
You guys are just college girls, right? Did you ever think, right, that you'd be back on campus? It's the fall semester. You're going to football games. You're thinking about planning spring break. That this is what your life would be like?
No, not in a million years. I think a lot of people don't understand also the hurt that we're feeling after October 7th. Every single Jew on campus and every single Israeli knows someone who was affected by this, knows someone who was either taken hostage or someone who was killed on October 7th. And if they don't know, it's just 1 degree removed. And so we're all just mourning. We're all hurting. We all experienced such a great loss of life that no one at 20 or 21 or 22 years old should experience. And then to come to campus and just to hear people continuing this rhetoric of
Did you ever think that those feelings, right, this hate even existed on your campus?
No. I didn't. I've never encountered it. My peers in class.
That's what's so extraordinary to me.
I think that growing up, I heard stories. I heard horror stories. Entire towns turning on the Jews, giving up their Jews, peers that were assumed to be, faithful to their friends, loyal to their friends, their fellow, German citizens, Polish citizens, turning as soon as the blame was put on Jews, as soon as violence towards Jews began.
But those were stories you thought just your grandparents would be telling you.
I'm from New York. We have one of the largest Jew populations in the world. I never thought that anti-Semitism would reach New York. And I was naive, I think. I thought these were stories. I never assumed that they would be my reality. And that is extremely devastating. And it's heartbreaking to hear my peers who are advocates always for social justice issues, advocating on behalf of minorities. When Jews are called into question, when it's the Jews that are being persecuted, that are being threatened for their lives, there's silence, and there's selective advocacy here. Selective advocacy. There's blindness, selective blindness, and it's heartbreaking.
Amanda, are you starting to feel like diversity and inclusion, which is such an important idea for so many of us, is suddenly not including you?
100%. I mean, over the past few weeks at Cornell, there's been a surge like never before in anti-Semitic acts, in professors saying that they're exhilarated by Hamas's actions, then even following the arrest and arraignment of a student who posted direct threats to slit the throats of Jews on campus, to throw them off cliffs, to bomb their living facilities and the only kosher dining hall on campus. Even after all of that, professors are still spreading untruths and propaganda about Israel in their classes, which directly affects our Jewish community. Professors have been showing videos about why Israel is committing genocide in their courses without substantiating it, with really any evidence at all, and telling students that who say that they sympathize with the Israeli citizens and their horrific loss of life and the atrocities committed against them. Professors are telling their students that they are the real oppressor and that Israel deserved what came for them in classes today and yesterday, even after this student who, sent these death threats to my entire community. This is still happening today.
And why do you think that university leaders aren't doing anything, right? We could say peace or politics in the Middle East are complicated, but anti-Semitism is not complicated.
Just 2 days ago, President Rosenberry of Barnard created a task force combating anti-Semitism, something that I'm grateful for, something that's unfortunately very necessary right now. And right now, there are protesters protesting that task force, protesting an email that she wrote denouncing Hamas's actions. They think she's not doing enough to combat Islamophobia. She's not doing enough for everyone else. When all she did was write an email saying that anti-Semitism is not okay, and people think that's bad. Like, that's black and white to me. Anti-Semitism is not okay. And that's it. But students on my own campus, they're politicizing this. They're making this into something that it's not. I feel scared and threatened on my college campus, and people are turning it into a Israel-Palestine issue when that is what's at the root of this. That is what started this. But it's Jew hatred. It's plain old Jew hatred, and
I'm
people are getting away with it.
Sorry. Cornell, Barnard, NYU. Amanda, I'm guessing that you three ladies all attend your dream colleges. I'm guessing Cornell was your #1 pick and you applied early. And it sounds like right now you are experiencing absolute hell. Are you actually questioning being at that school right now, a school that I'm guessing you dreamed and worked your ass off to attend?
It's a difficult question to answer. I mean, my sister attended Cornell about 10 years ago, and the Jewish community was very small, not as unified as it is today. And it has really, really grown a tremendous amount. And it's something that all of the Jews on campus are truly proud of. And the fact that we're all putting up a unified front is really something that we're proud of. And you know, this is a very, very difficult time for our community. We're scared to walk outside. We're scared to go to Chabad on Shabbat. We're scared to be ourselves and speak up in a class. It's truly a terrifying time, but I think that having fewer Jews on these campuses is giving in and allowing them to win. I think that the story of the Jewish people is one of being constantly persecuted and having propaganda being propagated all over the place, and just having pervasive anti-Semitism really consume the world. And in the face of it all, we have to remain strong. And, you know, we've proved before that we're resilient. You know, a lot of what's happening on my campus is evoking a really visceral reaction and within me to what my grandfather experienced growing up in Poland and surviving Auschwitz. And the only thing to do is to fight back and to persevere and show that we're stronger than everyone's hate.
We are all impressionable, young people, especially your students. You are at this point in your life when you're here to learn, and misinformation is one of the roots of this problem. So where are you as a college student? Where are you getting a lot of your information about all of this from? And do you think misinformation is one of the reasons that maybe your classmates have become so hostile? Maybe they're just misinformed.
I think that, yes.
And I'm not making an excuse for it.
No, of course not. I do think that there is some misinformation, but I also think that this is something that must have been bubbling underneath the surface, because for so many people to rally so quickly to condemn a country before Israel even launched its ground response to Hamas's attack, people were already taking to celebrate to the streets. New York citizens and NYU students and NYU professors took to the streets not even 4 days after the attack to protest for the Palestinian people. 4 days after. Israel had done no ground responsive yet. So right there you see this anger towards the Jewish people, towards the Jewish state, already ready to go, boiled up. But yes, I do think that there's a lot of misinformation at the hand of these professors as well. When I go to a class at NYU, I'm sitting listening to my professor. I assume he's an expert in his field. For them to be spreading such misinformation, that is extremely harmful, because I assume that the other students in my classroom feel the same way that I do, that this professor is informed about all issues that they are speaking about. So they are a voice of authority. And for them to be consistently spreading harmful misinformation to their students without evidence to back it up, that is extremely dangerous. And I've been experiencing a lot of professors and my peers as well trying to contextualize and to justify a terrorist attack, to contextualize it and to justify it. There is a group formed with over 200 NYU professors called Faculty for Justice in Palestine. They, in their letter, they wrote that they condemn Hamas's attack, but they understand that this was an important part of the Palestinian resistance. That is the premise of their letter. So they condemn the attack in one sentence, but in the same, they justify it and try to contextualize the intentional slaughter of innocent civilians, the kidnapping of over 230 Israeli citizens, mothers, children, the elderly. There are 9-month-old babies that were taken by Hamas, and not only Israeli civilians too. So that is what's extremely harmful as well. If these professors can spread such misinformation and then on top of it contextualize and try and justify a terrorist attack, who's to say that they can't condone and try and contextualize violence for everything?
These professors know better. They know that this is not Palestine versus Israel. They know that this is Hamas, a terrorist group. Those professors also know that two things can be true. There can be a humanitarian crisis in Gaza as we speak, and at the same time, a brutal terror attack was carried out against innocent Jews 3 weeks ago. Given all of this, and even on your campus where you now have people protesting the formation of a group against anti-Semitism, given this moment in time, what is the path forward? Do you see one?
I don't know. Truly, I don't know what the path forward is. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm screaming from the rooftops that Jewish students are not okay. That's why I'm trying to tell as many people as I can that the rape of women and the slaughter of babies is not resistance. It's not justified. Like Bella just said, there's no context that we could give in order to justify this. And like Bella, there are professors on my campus. A professor published something that said that Hamas's actions were awesome. Awesome, full stop.
Does that professor still have a job?
That professor's tenured. And that professor is who's teaching people like me, 18-year-olds, about the Middle East? In what world is that okay? In what world is raping women and then taking them to be paraded through the streets of Gaza okay? This isn't about what Israel's response. This was published not even a week after Hamas's attack, before Israel started retaliating. You want to talk about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza? Let's talk about it.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. And if you have people you love in Gaza, come mourn with me. We want the same thing. But saying that what Hamas did was awesome?
Amanda, Cornell is experiencing, you're among the worst. When I think about your fellow student who was charged this week, the threats he made against Jewish men and women on your campus, do you see a path forward?
It's definitely difficult. I mean, posting threats to my community under even perceived anonymity, like there are really no words to describe what he said. And although some people think that he may have, made those threats based on his own feelings of isolation and depression, it is evident that they stemmed from, and that the university's, program of indoctrination and propaganda on the issue has created the environment that enabled him to make those comments and to think that he could get away with them. It is truly shocking what's happening on campus right now. I have no words.
I am so grateful that you're all here today. I am amazed by your poise, your grace, your bravery, and I want you to know how sorry I am. You're in college. The last thing in the world, no one should experience this, but college, you should all just be having the most joyous, fantastic experience. And I'm so, so terribly sorry to all of you.